My name is Antonio Tony Castellano, and I'm 45 years old. 6 months ago, I sat in a courtroom watching my wife's lover sue me for half of our restaurant empire. Today, I own 27 restaurants across 3 states while they share a studio apartment and criminal records for fraud. But to understand this sweet justice, I need to take you back to where it all began. My grandmother, Nana Rosa, came to Brooklyn from Sicily in 1952 with nothing but a suitcase and recipes passed down through 5 generations. She worked in other people's kitchens for 30 years, saving every penny, perfecting those recipes, dreaming of her own restaurant. Antonio, she'd tell me as I helped her cook Sunday dinners, these recipes are our blood. They're not just food, they're our history. Promise me you'll protect them. When I was 25, working as a line cook and saving for culinary school, Nana called me over. She was 83, sharp as her best knife, and had a plan. I'm finally opening my restaurant, she announced. And you're going to run it. Nana, you're retired. I'm old, not dead, she interrupted. I've saved $200,000. We're doing this right. But Antonio, we do it my way. The business stays in the family trust. The recipes stay secret. And you never, ever let anyone outside the family have control. That's how Castellanos began. Not as my restaurant, but as Nana's, with me as the manager and sole beneficiary of the Rosa Castellano family trust that owned everything. The first restaurant was a hit. Nana's recipes, authentic atmosphere, and my modern business sense created something special. Within 3 years, we'd opened 2 more locations. By year 5, we had 7 restaurants and a waiting list for franchises we wouldn't sell. That's when I met Lisa. She was a marketing executive who came in to pitch services to the restaurant. Blonde, polished, MBA from Wharton, everything Nana warned me about. She's not Italian, Nana said after meeting her. She doesn't understand family. But I was 30, successful, and thought I knew better. Lisa was sophisticated, ambitious, and seemed to love the restaurant business as much as I did. We married 2 years later in a ceremony Nana attended, but didn't celebrate. Remember, she pulled me aside at the reception. The trust is ironclad. She can never touch it. Lisa knew about the trust structure. She had to. It came up during prenup negotiations. The restaurants, the recipes, the real estate, everything was owned by the family trust with Nana as trustee and me as sole beneficiary upon her passing. Lisa would receive generous spousal support if we divorced, but the business was untouchable. I'm marrying you, not your restaurants, she'd laughed during the prenup signing. Famous last words. For the first few years, things were good. Lisa used her marketing skills to help expand the brand. We opened new locations, launched a line of sauces, even got a Food Network feature. But success changed her, or maybe revealed who she'd always been. She started referring to the restaurants as ours, correcting me when I said, my family's business. She'd make suggestions that violated everything Nana had built. Franchising, selling recipes to food manufacturers, going public. You're thinking too small, she'd argue. This could be worth hundreds of millions if you'd just modernize your approach. It's not about the money, I'd respond. It's about preserving what Nana created. Your grandmother is stuck in the past, she'd snap. And so are you. When Nana passed at 89, I was devastated. Lisa saw opportunity. The day after the funeral, she presented me with a restructuring plan that would dissolve the trust and put the business in both our names. It's what Rosa would have wanted, she said. To see the business grow. Get out, I told her. Get out of my sight. That was the beginning of the end. Lisa became obsessed with getting control of the restaurants. She tried everything, emotional manipulation, threats of divorce, even attempting to forge my signature on corporate documents. Meanwhile, she'd started her affair with Marcus Webb. Marcus was everything I wasn't, a smooth-talking restaurant consultant with a Harvard MBA and expertise in scaling family businesses. Lisa hired him without my approval, and they immediately began planning the empire they'd build with our restaurants. I discovered the affair the old-fashioned way. They got sloppy. Late-night strategy meetings, charges at hotels when she was supposedly at conferences, and finally, the classic mistake of using the company email for personal messages. Once I get control of the restaurants, Lisa had written to Marcus, we can finally do this right. Tony's too sentimental to see the potential. Between your vision and my execution, we'll build something amazing. His response, just keep working on the trust issue. There has to be a way around it. What about mental incompetence? Undue influence? Once you're divorced, half is yours anyway. I screenshot everything, said nothing, and started preparing. First, I met with the trust lawyers to ensure everything was still ironclad. It was. The trust owned everything. Every restaurant, every recipe, every piece of real estate. I was the sole beneficiary. Lisa had no claim to any of it. Then I hired a private investigator. What he found was beautiful in its stupidity. Not only were Lisa and Marcus having an affair, they'd already incorporated a company together, LM Restaurant Group, and were negotiating with investors based on acquiring Castellano's assets in the divorce. They'd promised investors a chain built on authentic Italian recipes and established locations in prime markets. They were literally pre-selling my family's legacy. I filed for divorce on a Tuesday. Lisa was served at the restaurant, in front of the staff she'd been trying to turn against me. She laughed. Finally grew a spine, she said. Fine. I'll take my half and build something better with someone who isn't stuck in the 1950s. There is no half, I replied calmly. Check the prenup. Check the trust documents. You get spousal support as agreed. Nothing else. Her face went pale. We built this together. No, I corrected. I built this with my grandmother. You were an employee with a good compensation package. That's when Marcus entered the picture officially. He sued me, not Lisa, me, claiming that Lisa had promised him a partnership in the business as compensation for his consulting work. He wanted 50% of what he called Lisa's marital share. The lawsuit was insane. Marcus claimed he'd provided transformative consulting that doubled our revenues. He had emails from Lisa promising him partnership. He had their business plan for LM Restaurant Group. He even had forged documents showing Lisa as co-owner. My lawyer, Sal Moretti, an old family friend who'd known Nana since the beginning, was almost giddy when he saw their filing. They're suing for half of something that doesn't exist, he laughed. Lisa has no marital share. She never did. This is going to be fun. The court date arrived. The courtroom was packed. The restaurant industry loves drama, and this was prime entertainment. Marcus strutted in wearing a $5,000 suit, briefcase full of documents, radiating confidence. Lisa sat beside him, not as a co-defendant, but as his supporter, smirking at me across the aisle. Marcus's lawyer presented their case with flourish. The consulting work Marcus had done. The promises Lisa had made as co-owner. The value he'd added to their business. He actually used air quotes around there. Then it was our turn. Sal stood slowly, smiled at the judge, and opened a single folder. Your Honor, I'd like to present the founding documents of the Rosa Castellano Family Trust, established 1998. He read the key passages. The trust owned all assets. Rosa Castellano was the original trustee. Upon her death, Antonio Castellano became sole beneficiary. No spouse, partner, or associate could ever have ownership rights. But surely, Marcus's lawyer sputtered, marital assets. There are no marital assets, Sal interrupted. Mr. Castellano is an employee of the trust. A well-compensated employee, but an employee nonetheless. The restaurants, recipes, and all associated assets belong to the trust, not to him personally. This is ridiculous. Marcus burst out. Lisa owns half. She promised. Mrs. Castellano owns nothing, Sal continued calmly. She knew this when she signed the prenuptial agreement. She knew this throughout the marriage. She certainly knew this when she was promising you assets she never possessed. Then Sal delivered the killing blow. He presented the incorporation documents for LM Restaurant Group, the emails between Lisa and Marcus, and their investor presentations. Not only was Mrs. Castellano promising assets she didn't own, he said. She and Mr. Webb were actively defrauding investors by selling interests in restaurants that belonged to a family trust. That's wire fraud, securities fraud, and conspiracy. The judge's expression went from amused to stern. He turned to Marcus and Lisa, who had gone from smirking to pale. Mr. Webb, the judge said slowly, are you telling me you entered into a business partnership to acquire restaurants without verifying who actually owned them? Aye, Lisa said. She was co-owner. Marcus stammered. Did you review any corporate documents? Trust filings? Tax returns? I trusted her representations. The judge actually laughed. Not a chuckle, a full laugh. You're a Harvard-educated restaurant consultant who didn't perform basic due diligence? And now you want this court to award you half of assets that were never available. Your Honor, Marcus's lawyer tried. There was clear misrepresentation. Indeed there was, the judge agreed. by your client and Mrs. Castellano to their investors. Mr. Moretti, are you planning to pursue criminal charges? We're considering all options, Your Honor, Sal smiled. The case was dismissed with prejudice. But we weren't done. I sued Marcus and Lisa for attempted corporate theft, fraud, and damaging the Castellanos brand. The investor fraud charges brought in the FBI. Their little scheme to pre-sell my restaurants turned into a federal case. Lisa tried to negotiate. Tony, please. We can work this out. I made mistakes, but I helped build. You helped nothing. I cut her off. You were a parasite who thought you could steal what 5 generations of my family built. Nana saw through you from day one. The divorce was finalized quickly. Lisa got the spousal support outlined in our prenup, $3,000 a month for 2 years. Nothing else. No restaurants, no recipes, no assets. Just enough to survive while she figured out her next con. Marcus faced worse. The investor fraud charges stuck. He pled guilty to avoid serious jail time but lost his consulting license, paid massive fines, and destroyed his reputation. Last I heard, he was working as a shift manager at a chain restaurant, the kind he used to mock. Lisa and Marcus moved in together, 2 con artists with nothing left to steal from each other. Their relationship lasted about as long as you'd expect. Within 3 months, she was suing him for the money he'd promised from their failed scheme, and he was countersuing for damaging his career. The restaurants thrived through all of it. The scandal actually helped. Nothing sells Italian food like family drama. We opened 3 new locations last year, each one managed by someone who understands that Castellanos isn't about maximizing profits or modernizing traditions. It's about a woman who came here with nothing and built something real. It's about recipes that tell stories and food that means something. It's about keeping faith with family, even when outsiders try to tear it down. I keep Nana's picture in every restaurant, right by the register. Sometimes I catch employees talking to it, asking for luck on busy nights. They say if you listen closely, you can hear her laughing at the 2 idiots who thought they could steal her legacy. Family is family, she used to say. Business is business. Never confuse the two. Lisa confused them. Marcus confused them. They thought marriage meant ownership, that promises from a liar meant partnership. They strutted into court demanding half of an empire that was never for sale. The judge laughed them out. Nana would have laughed harder. My name is Antonio Castellano. I'm 45 years old. I run 27 restaurants that will never be franchised, never go public, never be modernized into soullessness. My ex-wife and her lover learned what Nana always knew. You can't steal what was never yours to take. The trust remains ironclad. The recipes remain secret. The family remains in control. And somewhere in Brooklyn, I swear I can hear Nana saying, I told you so, Antonio. But did you listen? No. You had to learn the hard way. Men. Always the hard way. She was right about that too. Thanks for watching. See you again in the next video. Stay stunned.